Doug Knight, he's doing this super wicked white cell squadron. Had cancer as a kid, affected his optic nerve, can't see for shit. But then he's like, no, I'm gonna still draw anyway. If I have to be like super close to the paper, and if I have to fight through the headaches and all that stuff.
Why are you crying?
This is not the most beautiful piece of art I ever heard in my life.
Right there, it's like, yo, if you're gonna come to the table with one of these publishers or one of these comic book companies with your idea, like, put in the work first. That's like the biggest thing.
We didn't get where we were in a short amount of time because we didn't have fuck ups. We have plenty of fuck ups. It's a matter of like people who are like, okay, well that didn't work. Like, how do we learn together and move on to the next thing?
You just literally just came in like Gordon Ramsay and just like cooked up an amazing form of information right now. It's like, yo, I don't even need to say anything.
How about some time traveling caveman? I was like, sure, let's do this.
It reminds me of, and I think I said it in the video, like Kablam.
Oy.
And that's what I feel lesser known comics brings to the table, because it's just all different type of artists, different type of stories. The shit are fucking wild, but it's like fun reads. It's stuff that you don't normally see. So I want to ask you about that. So you have a creator pitching you their comic. There's so many different questions that are pulling up into my mind. And YouTube, Patreon, what's going on? I have Mark here. He is the leader, the CEO, founder of Lesser Known Comics. I think you started it in 2020, and you have a bunch of titles. If I was looking at your website and your Instagram, I would have never known that you are just literally, 3 years old, or a little bit under 3 years old for a company, man.
Yeah, it's gone quick, and it's not something that I expected to take off this fast. And the best part, I think, is like the more we're growing, I think we're doing it like in such a way that it's crazy. Like I see stuff pop up, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know we were putting that out yet. So it's like it's a pretty cool way that we run things like that.
All right, so my man's got a fully well-oiled machine when it comes to not just a comic book company, but it sounds like a company in general. So we're going to get into all this shit. We were starting off talking about somebody that you're meeting up with that is looking to pitch you their comic. Talk about that. Talk about everything. Like, what do you look for when someone's pitching you a comic? What's the right way for someone to pitch you your project, or just pitch a project in any format?
Yeah, so there's two real ways to go about it. And there's people who just show up into like the lesser known sphere and just make themselves like completely indispensable right off the bat. So I used my buddy Max Flowers. Like I didn't even know this guy like 6 months ago. So he's got this like zine that he started printing out, and it's just like collection of art and stuff like that. But we were doing that punk rock anthology we put out, and he submitted a story to be in it. The story was awesome. We're like, absolutely. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, like me and my boyfriend, we make these like patches, we make all this other like cool stuff. So he's just started like being like, what if we had patches to go along with this punk anthology? What if we do this? What if we do that? And then now, not only is he doing the anthology stuff, he's doing patches for us. He's doing like these crazy art prints with these like metallic inks and stuff. And then he's taking on, we have this whole project where we're doing these black and white books called LKC Inks. And I was like, dude, everything you touch is great. Just tell me where you're going to drop the file. I'll pay, print the books, and then, you get your cut. So that
is this somebody that's like he was already in your inner circle and he was just doing something on the side and then brought it to your attention?
he submitted for the anthology like everybody else, but he came in with such like a passion that he was like, people who have that like proactive mindset where they're just showing up with solutions and showing up with cool ideas and not being like, hey, I got this pipe dream and I need you to do 90% of the work. They're like, hey, I already did 90% of the work. I just need your guys' megaphone because you guys have a much bigger audience than us, so what if I bring you this cool thing and then we could be successful together? That's the best thing, any creator can do. Like just make themselves completely indispensable right off the bat,
It's like Shark Tank for comics.
Yeah. And, the other part is you know, I'd be stupid not to do work with somebody like that, you know. And I think, some of the other times, people bring us books and that's great, but I start asking them those questions to try and get an idea of, because they want to tell me about the book. And I'm like, no, 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 I need to know about you, like as a person, because a book can be great, a book can be, whatever, but like as a publisher and creator relationship, we're going to chart a path from like point A to point B. We're not going to land anywhere near point B. We're going to end up X, Y, Z, fucking, wherever. And how you react to that and like the kind of relationship we can still have, and trust and respect, and how you work with people you disagree with, like that all will say way more about your likelihood for success, because like we didn't get where we were in a short amount of time because we didn't have fuck ups. We have plenty of fuck ups. It's a matter of like people who are like, okay, well, that didn't work. Like, how do we learn together and move on to the next thing? And that's more important than anything else, you know?
You just literally just came in like Gordon Ramsay and just like cooked up an amazing form of information right now. It's like, yo, I don't even need to say anything. It's like there's so many gems right there. I should have held that part for freaking Patreon, bro. Like, yeah, that's valuable info right there. It's like, yo, if you're gonna come to the table with one of these publishers or one of these comic book companies with your idea, like put in the work first. That's like the biggest thing.
Yeah, and we got one guy, and I'll plug his Kickstarter. Doug Knight, he's doing this Super Wicked White Cell Squadron, which is it's the dude had cancer as a child, and it made
Mm-hmm.
him legally blind. Like I just was being his seeing eye person the other weekend, and so he had cancer as a kid, affected his optic nerve, can't see for shit. But then he's like, no, I'm gonna still draw anyway. If I have to be like super close to the paper, and if I have to fight through the headaches and all that stuff. And I remember I was dealing with some struggles with lesser known, and he was like, oh, that sounds tough, but like get over it. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you can sit and
Yeah.
complain and admire the problem, or you can like do something about it. And you can't like really like tell like a cancer survivor that they don't understand. Like, man, no, man, my problems are hard, right? So like,
He didn't. Yo, I was chatting with him. I was chatting with him through DMs, and I got a chance to read his project a little bit. I totally forgot it because at the same time I had family over.
mhm.
But he didn't even tell me. He told me that he was looking to promote it and looking to get it into, I guess like every children's hospital that he can get it into. But he didn't like tell me the full story. I guess it would be kind of weird to just like open with that. But damn, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's weird. And like when you're hanging out with him too, you like forget. I was like pointing stuff out to him that was like far away, and he's like, dude, I can't, I can't see. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, my bad, you know. So, but yeah, super humble dude. And yeah, we work with a lot of people like that. They we all have reasons to have chips on our shoulder, right? Life will do you dirty at some point. If it hasn't done it yet, it'll do it later. You know, but there's once you come up with excuses as to why you can't do something, that's the problem right there. It's the person who's like, oh, I can't put the sail up because the wind's not blowing. Well,
Yeah.
like you're gonna look even dumber when the wind starts blowing and you don't have your sail up, you know.
Yeah, bro. Everybody got their fucking story, bro. I got fucking family members that stole money from me when my fucking dad passed away, and it's like, yo, what the fuck can I do? Can I sit around mope about it? Like, it's like, no, it's like now I need to double down and fucking just get to work. And it's like just put my face down, put the blinders on,
Mhm.
and just go, go, go. And that's literally what I live by. It's like no matter what, if I don't know how to do shit, if I don't know how to edit something, design something, learn it, and then cook up the content, put it out. That's it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think sometimes people get confused that like, oh, that's some like positive mental attitude stuff. So you just like you're gonna like always look at things optimist. It's like no, it's like you see the world for what it is, but don't allow that to be an excuse. Because sometimes too, like until you really look at what your limitations are, you're more scared of what you you can't do because you're not, so being afraid of the unknown. A lot of people don't want to take that first step. Well, what if people don't like my stuff? What if people don't like your stuff? Are you valuing your art based on what other people think, or are you valuing your art or what you're creating based on it's better than what I did last time? You know, and
Mhm.
those are the people who,
It's tough when you're trying to sell it though. When you're trying to sell it and make money, it's like, yo, I gotta make something that people like, right?
well, people smell inauthentic. Like when they smell like when people are pandering or being inauthentic. I mean,
Oh, most definitely. Most
you
definitely.
know,
If there's anything that people know, especially in this day and age, is that pandering. I feel like some people even put pandering on shit that ain't really pandering. Yeah, but yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, so then you were talking about positive mental attitude and all that. But like, let's say if I sit down with you, like, what do you know, or what do you, if a project is trash, what is like a project or a pitch or something that's just like, yo, this ain't it. Like, you need to go back to the drawing board. Like, what are some red flags in your mind?
yeah. I mean, I've had folks who they've either responded to like the criticisms or say, hey, your your letters are just not doing it. Your colors, I don't think you where you need to be on your colors. Perhaps have somebody else color it. You know, um, and a lot of times the folks that aren't going to make it, at this stage, they just don't come back. They don't come back with the fixes. And then, I
Mm-hmm.
had one dude who, I was like, hey, yeah, your letters are not great, man. And he went out and like watched every YouTube video on lettering. And then like 6 months later, he's like, oh, I'm hella good at letters now. And you're like, yeah, you are hella good at letters, you know?
Nice.
Um, but yeah, I think, some people as well, like if they're, had some people who have the right attitude where, I encourage them to keep doing fan art, keep doing because there's a ton of other things you can do. If you're not ready to put out a book yet, there's other things you can be doing as you get your art up and you get your storytelling up. So that's make friends with other people in the indie community, right? Like find
Mm-hmm.
people that you can collaborate with, even if it's just like, oh, I'm going to do a variant cover for your book. I'm going to do fan art for your book that you probably won't use because I'm not that good yet, but I'm going to get feedback from another creator. And there's people who do that, and after a year or two, they get hella good. And then like people are like, oh, dude, this guy's been doing fan art for me like forever, and they promote their shit like so hard
Mm.
because they're like, this is somebody who put in the work, they put in the time, they made friends, it was a genuine connection, you know,
Yeah.
and so I would say, yeah, especially if you don't have the talent level there, you know, the things that you can control is, you can make friends in the indie scene, you can promote each other's work, you can do all that kind of stuff. You can, try and host, little fan art competitions and shit. Brandon Blocksdorf, the Apollo City Comics host, he does a drink
Mm-hmm.
and draw. He is the most garbage drawer in the world, and but he's like, yeah, I want to learn. It's going to take me like years to learn, and he just has like really good artists come on. They drink and draw. He's terrible at it, but they're good at it. They get to promote their book while he's learning to draw from them, and it's like no one had to ask him. That's a brilliant idea,
That's yeah. I gotta
and
give him
and there's
that's
no
an amazing
copyright on
idea.
that. Like anyone can do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a bad drawer right now that wants to make comic books, or you're a mediocre drawer, you could be doing that same thing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yo, that's a good idea. I mean, I'm trying to think. I feel like that's the shit that I did. It was like, yo, I was planning on creating a project, and then I'm in the process of drawing it, writing it, and all this shit. And I'm like, yo, this is taking forever. And I was like, even if I was done right now, it's like I don't got anybody to market to. Like, no one knows me, no one knows anything. So it's like, you know what? Let me just get in front of a camera, start my social media, and I said to myself, I said, how can I add as much value to the indie community instead of being a taker? And I was like, well, I'm good at talking. I'm good at shit talking. I love nerd shit. I talk about this shit all the time with my friends, and I don't get paid for it. There's no like cachet bank that I'm building up. So I was like, let me do this shit, on social. So I started off picking apart projects, shooting myself, and then just being funny with it, doing my edits and shit like that. And I slowly started to build where it's like now I focus on this more than actually finishing running my project, just because it's like this is actually fun. I like it. I get to connect with so many different people in the industry. And it's like I have a vision for it now. It's like I know where I want to go. It's like I know how big I want this thing to be. And I know how big I want the indie space, the regular comic and manga space, and then just like nerd content in general, how big I want it to be. So, it's like goals change, especially when you take advice from people and you tell them what to do and don't take it to heart. It's like just do it.
Yeah, because I mean, in the best, the best situation, right? It's you see somebody doing something that totally changes your perspective, and it's not as simple as like just stealing and borrow ideas from each other. It's that like combination of like, oh, you had half the equation, I think I have the other half of the equation to make this thing that neither of us thought was possible, you know.
Mhm.
And I mean, uh, that's the ultimate way we're going to grow the pie for the indie comic scene. See, even some good friends are like, the indie comic scene is it's small, or it's this or it's that, and it's like, dude, then start making it what you want it to be. Like, who's stopping you?
Everything got to start off small. I mean, I hate to use this as an example, but like Bitcoin originally was small. Bitcoin originally was worth shit. And during COVID, it was like everybody was scrambling to get Bitcoin, and there was people that had it that were like fucking multimillionaires, like pretty much not overnight, but they just held on to it. They invested into it. And that's the same thing with any industry. It's like, yo, if you focus in on it, it's like we already know how big the comic book industry can be. Look at DC and look at Marvel, right? It's like it's going to be a matter of time before the indie projects move into the comic book world, like the mainstream, and then lead into, hey, HBO, Netflix, Hulu, all these different companies are looking for new writers and storytellers. Shout out to all of the writers that are on strike right now. But yeah, they're going to be looking for new projects because shit in Hollywood is just being recycled and they're going to need new shit. So it's like you might as well start it now.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I feel it was cool to see Digital Lizards of Doom go on to a bigger publisher, and uh, I think there's a couple more that are pretty prime, within the lesser known. But even one of them, actually, the person I'm doing a pitch meeting with later tonight, he's with Scout, and he was like, "Oh, I got this other story, but I want to like bring it somewhere where I can do whatever the hell I want and not have any editorial." I was like, "Yeah, sure, come on
I
down,"
like that.
Uh,
I like that. I like
and if
that.
he
So how?
brings it up to another one, like he's just going to come back with another idea, because that's what Digital Lizard Doom came back with. They were like, "Hey, how about some time
Yeah,
traveling cavemen?" I was like, "Sure, let's do this."
that's a fire idea. Like, yeah, all of these. It reminds me of, and I think I said it in the video, like Kablam. It's like when you watch Kablam, like back in the day, it's just like a whole bunch of different stories, different art styles, and it was just like dope. And I always loved shit like that, where it was like a hodgepodge of just like different shit. And that's what I feel lesser known comics brings to the table because it's just all different type of artists, different type of stories. The shit are fucking wild, but it's like fun reads. It's stuff that you don't normally see.
Yeah, I'm excited with it. And now also that we're doing the manga stuff, I'm so stoked about that. So, what
Yes, yes.
I got Andrew's
Ha-
thing here, Moonlayer with Gogo Gonzi, and
there we go. Oh,
um,
wait. Let me get mine.
yeah,
I got my one that's open, and I also got mine.
with
I don't know if yours is signed.
oh,
Pinio. Yeah, personally
I
signed
have to
mine.
talk to him.
Not that I'm competing with
That's
anybody. No, I'm joking.
But well, yeah, I guess if we want to flex, then I got the first issue of AK Yumi in my share drive right now. So, dude,
All right.
like,
You got me on that one.
I mean, but I'm just the filter this stuff's going through because, like, I mean, he's like, yeah, I got this thing. This chick starts at a new school, and it's the home base for an alien invasion. Think that's cool? I'm like, that's the coolest thing that I've heard come out of someone's face this month.
Yo, isn't he fucking talented
Oh,
as
good
shit?
man.
Oh my god, yo, his I remember seeing his artwork for the like I thought it was a legit brand new anime
Yeah.
coming out. And then I was like, and then I find out that he's the writer and the
Hmm.
artist. So much respect. So much
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah. And and they got to figure it out because, getting your spouse on board is huge. Like, good partner is like a superpower in this thing, because, um, one, they'll keep you from making dumb decisions, and then two, like they keep you like when you're down, and then she's doing writing and logistics and all sorts of stuff for them, so hats off. Like Michelle is a rock star.
He's about to take
Yeah.
off, man. About to take off. Yeah, once I saw his wife was like doing, like you said, all of the logistics, packaging, and like she was like critiquing I was like, all right, yeah, you're out of here, bro.
Yeah. Hey, and not to you know not to pull the curtain back too much, but I was over at their place when I was picking up books for Gogo Gonzi to sell at Indiana Comic Con, and they had this to do list on the wall, and it even was down to do Andrew's hair. I was like, because he had to get the cornrows before one of the shows. I forget what it was, and I was like, man, you guys got a system.
That is funny. That is funny. That is fucking good. I don't have anything scheduled. I think I put Mark LS in my calendar and then like that's it. Otherwise it's just like it just sticks in my head and I know what I have to do.
Well, what you're putting out is great,
As
man.
long as
Like I said, I told somebody else too the other day. I was like, this dude is the funniest person in my feed right now, and I was like, oh, I'm stoked to
thank
be
you,
on.
man. Thank you. It's like I'm trying to explode, man. I'm trying to freaking, just like I said, add as much value, but also have that entertaining value. I've always just have been I don't want to say a class clown
Hmm.
because it's like I wasn't like a high school dropout, but I always like making people laugh. I always like learning different things from other funny people. So obviously like comedians, TV shows, just different shit. People that I could relate to immediately, people that don't seem like would relate to me but still be funny. And then just kind of like pull things together and kind of just mold it into myself. And I was just always funny with my friends and just work environment. But I was like, let me translate it into something that I'm gonna benefit from, at least if not now, then later down the road.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wish I did it the way you're doing. Because like we put together the podcast, the I don't know shit about comics podcast, that was like because we were.
Fire name. I wish I had that name.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff now is just me being just telling people, well, this is how I wish I did it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and yeah, I think especially the younger people, God, I feel old as dirt, dude. Like, but like they just get it, and they have the energy, and they don't got two kids, and this, that, and the other thing. Not that that's any excuse, but like at the same time, um, I'm just blown away. Where I'm just like, dude, like Brandon Bloxler, who Apollo City, his first Kickstarter out the gate, you know, it's this punk rock anthology, and I was just like, I was telling him on the phone today, I was like, it's nice to not be like patronizing when I tell you how good of a job you're doing. It used to be like, oh, hey, keep at it, sport. Now it's like, fuck, dude, like I wish I was doing what you were doing. Like you're crushing it. It's exciting.
I got. You're bringing me in like so many different tangents and questions. Let's talk about how many people, creators, writers, whatever, as far as that's under the lesser known umbrella. How many people is it in total?
uh, it changes a lot. Like literally, like I had somebody just join like yesterday morning. We're at easily 40, close to 50 people that are doing stuff for
Okay.
us. So probably 30 of them are illustrators. About 10 of them are writers. And then there's probably like a hand, the rest of the 10 is people who are doing everything from lettering to graphic design to, you know, merchandising stuff or doing our
Okay.
website. Um,
So where the fuck are you getting your leadership skills from? Like you don't just accumulate 40 people like that. following you, not like following, but under your company, like working with you, like trust you with their futures. Like where do you get your leadership
I mean,
skills from?
there's two parts of it. I think when I first got into it, I didn't really know the scene that well, so I think, and then I had with everything, right? Like you have your own shortfalls and stuff like that. Like I had people that I worked with who had some grievances that totally understood. Right? It's the first time you run a comic book thing. Someone's like, "Hey, you're kind of terrible at doing this," and you're like, yeah. Well, some people, they get a choice at that point. They elect to stick it out and be like, well, Mark kind of sucks at this. And sucking at something is the first step in being kind of good and better at it, And some people
Yeah.
wrote it out and some people went their own way, you know. Um, and I don't, and then some people just thought, hey, this is not a great fit. Not necessarily there's anything against you or I don't have anything against them. It's just, like, um, my buddy told me like during one of his breakups, like he was like, oh yeah, I just said to my girlfriend, like, are you happy? Because I'd be astounded if you said yes, And she was like, no. He's like, then we should break up, right? Like, no fault. Like, you don't like being with me.
That's a pretty fucking raw question
you
right
know,
there. Are you happy?
and
Because if you're not, let's just fucking dead this right now. Like, yeah, that's a fucking raw ass
and
question, but an honest question to ask.
and yeah, so there's some people that I would call like lesser known alumni that they're out doing their own thing now, and there's no bad blood, there's no whatever, like there's good. And then some people said, fuck you, Mark, and the horse you rode in on, I'm out, and that's fine, right? Like they don't owe me anything. But for the most part, I started sussing that out, like in what we talked about earlier, where it's like, it's on me a little bit from like expectation management. Like, hey, stuff
Yeah.
will go wrong. Like when Digital Lizard June first came over from, they came from an IDW imprint initially, and they were like,
Okay.
oh man, like everything here at Lesser Known Comics is so professional. And I was like, dude, I guarantee I will fuck up some simple shit. Like I guarantee it, and I did. But we got through it because, I think I set those expectations. So I probably could have done that better
Okay.
earlier. But for the most part, I was in the army for a bajillion years, 17 years.
There we
They
go.
they
There
met.
we go. That explains everything. That explains everything. I was gonna say, I was like, yo, you're obviously some sort of leader. You have some sort of leadership skills. Like people don't just follow people for no reason. Obviously, people drop off and whatever it is. But to get up to 40 people, like that's not an easy feat, man. Like kudos to you, bro. But yeah, there had to be
Yeah,
something.
the thing though, I really try and stress, and we got our creator meetings every other Thursday, um, is uh, leadership is not position based, you know. So somebody like Max who said, "Well, I know how to make all these patches. I'm going to reach out to everybody and see if they want to get the design adapted to a patch." That's
Mm,
that's leadership,
yep.
and no one else was doing that. You know, even Brandon with the whole anthology, being like, "Hey, like I'm going to put out a punk rock themed book a year from now. I'm going to do a punk rock anthology now so that like I create this like fan base around this theme that my book's going to be on." You know,
Hmm.
and then Doug with that Super Wicked White Cell thing, like his idea that, well, comic book for kids, they're already putting books in hospitals, but there's no books that are made specifically for the purpose of inspiring kids with cancer that's made by
Yeah.
somebody who persevered through it. And the story is all ages and analogous to the struggle they're actually doing because it's, super wicked white cell squadron. They're fighting giant monsters and they got giant mech robots and things like that. But it's the same thing. It's what his parents actually told him when he
Yeah.
was going through chemo. They're like, hey, White
Wow.
Ranger is going to go into your blood cells, and it's going to have to do some stuff. It's not going to feel great, but that,
That was smart for the his parents to even like
mm-hmm,
make that
yeah.
metaphor.
So I mean, changed the whole trajectory for that kid, and now he's out there making these comics for sick kids. So, um, no one had to be in a position of authority to do any of those things, you know. And I think people get leadership and management like mixed up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
um, and those
Yep.
things don't even match. You lead people and you manage things, and that's where
Yeah.
a lot of people, they have a hard time in the other parts of the publishing industry, because they get managed, they get treated like a thing, and that's our whole mantra of like treating artists like humans. Like, I'm not treat you like a cog in the machine. You're not. You're a person. You're going to have way better ideas than me. I just have to empower you to be able to be better. Because if we, that's another thing. Like every Thursday, I say, hey, if this thing moves at the speed of Mark, like we're all going to fail miserably. Like this can't, you know. And I do have a little bit of
Yeah.
OCD control mindset where I'm like, oh, there's too much stuff going on. I can't keep up with all of it. But then like it hits me where it's like, you don't have to. Like these people, you trust them, you respect them to do their thing. They'll come to you when they need something, and then just deliver when they
Yeah.
ask you for the thing.
Okay. That's dope, man. That's dope. Yeah, yo, I'm literally like freaking mind blown right now, bro. It's like, yo, I wasn't expecting to like. Obviously, I was expecting to like obviously get a lot, a lot of good stuff. Also have fun and shit like that. But it's like now we're taking it to a whole nother level, bro. It's like we're talking about leadership. We're talking about running a company. We're talking about just highlighting the specific key players that are, creating projects, looking for new people to add on to the arsenal. All of this. So let's talk about, and I know we had this phone conversation. What's your big idea and big plans for lesser known comics? It sounded like you wanted it to be obviously a lot more than just a comic book company. Is like you want to have your hands in pretty much everything, but kind of like elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah. So my goal is this will stay an incubator forever. That this is where people who have something cool and they just need the megaphone, you know. And we have folks who come in and we help them get their book off the ground, and they never actually become part of lesser known comics, and that's fine too. Like
Okay.
my theory is that what's good for the indie scene is good for everybody. More often than not,
Mm-hmm.
people are like, yeah, like this was fun. The strength is really in the network, so they say, oh, it's nice having all these people around. I might as
Yeah.
well call this my tribe, So that happens. But I think there's also going to be folks within LKC who are going to be like, no, no, I want to make my own thing, and I want us to empower people to do that, and do that in
Mm.
concert, right? Um,
So you're not just looking to like stifle people and put them in a box. It's like, hey, if they want to use lesser known as like a leap pad or a launching pad, you're allowing them to do that.
yeah, and there's people going to outpace me. I mean, Moonlayer. I have no doubts in my mind. Like animation deals are in their future. They're going to have toy lines. They're going to have all sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
right now we're just a partner that's like helping get the word out and helping offset print costs. Like, and then providing like a
Mm-hmm.
network of people who can support those things. So at some point they'll eclipse us and be able to say, okay, well, like, you know, but I think that partnership will remain, you know, and maybe the inverse will happen, right? Where it's like somebody who's a great manga creator who I'm saying, hey, I've only taken this as far as I can, like you need to
Yeah.
go to this person. Because if there's a bigger publisher that can do better by any of our creators that wants to take them, like we'll be the first one, like fly baby birdie, like push them out of the nest, um,
You kicked them. Get out of
but
here.
so I don't think we'll be different in kind. I think we'll be different like in scale. um, so for me, the vision long term is that we have programs with the art schools, that we have people who are putting out their first comic with us as part of their capstone project, while they're in, art school. Same thing with the graphic designers, same thing with the writers and stuff like that. Um, and I mean, I could spend a whole lifetime just trying to get that achieved. That would be
Mm.
that would be dope, right? We would just have thousands and thousands of rad titles coming from people who are, you know, just coming right out of, right into the. My
Yeah.
buddy's daughter, she's an amazing illustrator, and
Okay.
she's in middle school. She can put out comics at her convenience until she gets, like 18, and then, you know, like that would be such a chill like way of just making some residual income while you're in college and you're out of your parents' nest, you know.
It's fucking mind blowing that you could do that right now while you're in high
Yeah.
school. It's like when I was in high school, I would have loved for like the internet to be like what it is today, to be able to use social media and all this shit oh my god, it's freaking amazing. But of course, like we're dinosaurs, so we didn't
Dude,
know.
I'll tell you what I did do in high school is I went to a punk rock show. I was like 15 years old. And this punk rock show got shut down by the police, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever, right? Like there was too many people, there was fights and drinks, and I was like, that could be me. I could be putting on a show that gets shut down by the police. That would be the most epic thing ever. And so Washington Mutual, like if you're old as dirt, you remember Washington Mutual, the bank. They had the
Yep,
free
of
checking
course.
account, and what I figured out was you could write a check to yourself at a different bank, and they would cash it
Hmm.
up to $500. Like actually 400
Okay.
$478 or $68, and it would cover your $32 overage fee. So I did that. I illegally floated a check to myself at 15 years old from one bank to another, and I used that to rent like this little crappy community center hall, and I put on a punk show. And I remember, like, we just got bands from the high schools. We printed out flyers. Kinkos, if everyone remembers the Kinkos,
Shit.
shit,
Kinkos,
you know.
yes. Oh my god, Kinkos.
And within the
Crazy.
first like hour of us opening the doors, I remember my buddy, he like brings me this like wad of cash, and he like I don't know why he wrapped it in masking tape, but he did, and he wrote 1G on it. And we were just like, and by the end of the night we had like handfuls of these, and we were just like,
Shit.
dude, like, I mean, that's a lot of money now. Like back then, we were just like, dude, we can do anything. And I think,
So it's like you had that business mindset even when you were in high
you,
school. Yeah, it's
I mean,
crazy.
but it was I didn't even drive then, so it still took a village, right? Like we had to get like a buddy's
Yeah.
PA system from like two towns over. Like one of the dudes had to drive. One of the dudes who like looked the oldest had to like talk to the person who like rented the venue. Because they weren't going to talk to
Yeah.
me. I still look 15. Like I looked even younger. Like when I was 15.
Yeah, I was gonna say you definitely look young, man. That's good.
So, but yeah, I mean, uh, and then the worst thing that could happen, right, is that when I got to college, my parents were like, "Oh, you got to stop doing this. You got to go to college," and that cost. But like, there's so much creative potential on these people, right? It's like that. There's a saying that
Yeah.
everyone's born a genius, and then the world just puts dumb in them the rest of their life. And
I never heard that saying, but that's a pretty good saying. I could definitely see that for myself. It's like a lot of the dumb shit that I say right now, definitely know where it influence.
yeah, I mean, and then and then you get into your 30s, and then you start realizing all this dumb stuff that came out of your mouth, this like I can't do it attitude. You're just like, oh, that's so much of that is other people telling me their own insecurities and putting that in my head, and then
Hmm.
you got to unlearn that shit. And hopefully some people
Yeah.
can learn. You got a kid, I got kids. It's like you hope they don't. It's not till they're in their 30s that they learn that. You know.
Yeah, I think about that shit all the time. Parental paranoia is a fucking real thing. I'm like, yo, and for me, it's like a little like weird because I grew up in Long Island, New York. Like the experience, just like forget like the whole entire world, like from like I would say 45 minutes to like an hour outside of Manhattan. Like you live a specific life that the rest of America doesn't live. So now I have moved to Wilmington, North Carolina, where it is like a total culture shock. But I'm always thinking, I'm like, yo, my kids aren't going to experience the shit that I experienced that made me who I am today. And it's like, yo, I'm a pretty dope person, but it's like, yo, it's like they're never going to, I don't know, have to like walk to school. Like I was even telling my wife, I was like, yo, I used to walk to school. And she's like, what are you, like 65 years old? Like, oh, I used to walk to school in 15 degrees. It's like you didn't walk to school. It's like, yo, I used to walk to school every day. Like we used to get into all kind of trouble. Like I remember kissing my girlfriend in the back of the library. Like, all of it. It's like, yo, you didn't do it. She was like, no, I rode the bus. I was like, that's like a 10-minute ride. Like there's so much shit that you could get into. I got my entrepreneurship after school. I don't know if you know of there used to be like this game like program called Mugen, and you can download it, and basically it's a fighting game, and you can put any type of character that you could think of,
Wow.
anything from like Superman to Guile from Street Fighter to Goku from Dragon Ball Z, like anything. And I kind of got on it first, and I was good at kind of like programming and shit like that because I took a lot of computer classes, and I created the game, put all my characters in, and I would have kids play it in the computer lab, and I burned it on a
What?
whole bunch of CDs. So then when people got hooked, they were like, yo, where can we get this? And I was selling it to them for like $20 a CD. And I was like, yo, they could have just made it themselves, but obviously most people aren't going to do it. But like, that's where I kind of got like my first touch of, all right, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do things for myself. I want to, be in business for myself. Um, and I would have never like got that. Look, I don't know how I tied in fucking after school and buses, but whatever. It's like, yo, that sometimes I'm like in fear of, man, are my kids gonna experience the same shit that I went through?
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
yeah, I think it's a matter of, it'll be different, right? But it's a matter of like understanding that, you know, at some point, like, you know, and actually I tell my wife about this, about like college, right? You know, if my kid takes 6 years to graduate from a 4 year college because they're doing something awesome, right? They're,
Hmm.
you know, they're doing something like putting on concerts or making, indie video games or whatever, right? They're doing something. You're like, yeah, like as long as you got like that foresight, your parent would be like, okay, well, shit, you should do that. Like you'd still need to get a degree, you know,
Yeah.
but we support you to do both. And I mean, not to go down the parental track too much, but it's just like, okay, well, I didn't have that opportunity, right? So I'm going to try and give that opportunity to, you know,
No, that's fucking awesome, man. That's awesome. It's taking, obviously, you have a day job that you work as well as do this, or is this like your full time?
yeah. So I do have a partial like retirement from being in the army. Um,
Gotcha. Okay.
but it's still like, I was like, my wife's like, oh, cool, you're gonna get some job that you're gonna like, make mad money now that you're like, you're gonna basically have a retirement in that. And I was like, no, I'm gonna make comic books. And she's like, the fuck you are, dude. Like, she's like, you gotta get her.
Yeah, like just killed your whole dream right there.
But not,
No, that's a good fucking position to be in, man.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that I did because I was in for 17 years. So they early retired me 3 years before 20. So they, it's not a
Okay.
full retirement, but it it works, So
Say no
yeah,
more. Say no
but
more. Shit.
yeah, but it's cool now. Like my wife, she sees all the orders come in like from Kickstarter and stuff like that. So I put like all the boxes like in the living room, like because I knew she like wanted them like gone, but at the same time she was like, "This many people are ordering your books," and I was like, one,
You gotta show it off. You gotta show it off. You gotta just leave it there. You leave it there while she's
yeah,
cleaning. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. You're like, remember that comic book dream I had? Yeah, this is 1,000 orders
yeah,
right here.
yeah. She won't read them. She'll read other people's books, but she won't read the books that I wrote. And she's got a really good reason for it. She was like, look, I dated this guy once and he wrote a play and he asked me to read it. And it was the worst thing she's ever read. And she was like, I was no longer attracted to him. And she's saying, I don't think that if I read it, that it would be that bad. but we got two kids together and a house and we got a whole life.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like, yo, you got a ring on your finger with two kids deep. It's like you ain't
yeah.
going anywhere. You're locked
She's like,
in.
I don't want to, if it's terrible, I'm not going anywhere. And I don't want to be, stuck then, with like,
Yeah. Yeah, my wife is the exact opposite. She wants to like see every fucking thing that I do, and me, I'm like super self conscious. Like I don't give a shit if like random people see my shit. It's like not, but like when my friends and like my wife starts to get all up in my business, I'm like, yo, get the fuck out of here. Like leave me alone. Let me do my shit. It's like I just want to go in my office, like pretend that the rest of the world doesn't exist. Let me fucking create. Cause like if I'm not worrying about just like the perceptions of everybody in the
mhm.
eyes of people watching me, then like that's when I make my fucking best content. But when I'm like so restricted and people are watching me and shit, it's like I can't like perform, if
It's
that
weird.
makes
I
sense.
know exactly what you mean. So I used to play music too. If you give me a guitar and here's 300 people, no problem. I'll go play when think to it. If you're like, here, show this song to like these two people in this like tight space, I'd be like, I don't want to do this. I'm super nervous.
Yeah. Yo, crazy, man, crazy. Yo, this was awesome. We're at like 50 minutes, so that's like the sweet spot. I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time and also have a little bit of time for Patreon. Gotta look after them. But before we cut out of here, Mark, I definitely want to say thank you for hopping on. I obviously from our phone conversation, obviously seeing what you guys are doing, reading Digital Lizards of Doom, and obviously I'm going to read some more of your projects. But just seeing that was amazing. But being on here, chatting it up with you, seeing your vision, seeing your work ethic, seeing the people that you have around you, that just took everything that I thought about you up to a whole higher level, man. Really appreciate you taking the time out. Is there anything that you want to plug before we get out of here for the YouTube?
Well, first off, thank you so much. Everyone else has been on podcasts lately. It used to be me doing all of them. I haven't been on one in like a minute. So, like, I'm really glad that we got a chance to connect. Yeah, if I can, I'd like to plug a couple. So the big one right now, Super Wicked White Cell Squadron. This one, whether or not you actually get the book or you just want to on Kickstarter, like just kick down some money so that we can put more books in children's hospitals. That'd be awesome. If you're following us at Lesser Known Comics, you're going to see it. It's going to pop in your feed, with the link. But if you type in just the word "Super Wicked" into Kickstarter, it's going to be like the first thing that comes down. Really cool book that was from Doug Knight. And then we have right now the punk rock anthology that's still going. So I don't have the punk because it's still being bound, but I do have Wolf Punks, which is also available as part of the anthology. For It's a re-release of Wolf Punks. So if you go to lesserknowncomics.com, the launch that takes you right there, has all that good stuff. And then the very last,
Artwork looks
yeah, I'm
fire, by
so
the way.
stoked about that. Like, I still get like when people are like, "Can I bring this book to Lesser Known?" I was like, "Me? Like us? Like okay, fine." And then the last one,
All right, yeah, I gotta get plugged in with the lesser known team. Like I want to start, just collabing with some of your creators that you guys got.
absolutely, yeah. And then the last one is Tank McGregor and the Mechanical Menace. If you're following us, this is in pre-launch right now. If you type in Tank McGregor with two G's on Kickstarter, it'll bring you to the pre-launch page. And then, like always, just don't be a stranger. DM us if you have any questions. If you got some rad stuff that you're putting out in the works and you want, some advice or some help, like it's all, it's all open to the public. We don't have any trade secrets or anything. It's all, I'll point you to people who are smarter than me.
Guys, hear that? The DMs are open. The DMs are open.
Hit us
But
up. Hit us up
yeah.
twice if you haven't heard back. Like that's another thing too. The people think, oh, like just because they didn't hear back, oh, this person must think I'm trash because they didn't hear back. Like the DMs get buried. Just be
Oh wait, Tom.
do
I,
hit us
I, I,
again.
I I'm with you. I'm with you there. I have 14 messages that are unread, and then some of those people have messaged me like 6 times. Like, if we see
Mm-hmm.
this, like, it's just a whole bunch of shit. It's like, yo, I can't get to everything. I can't get to everything at work, and I got my daughter and my son destroying the house, and it's like I'm editing. Yes, so I totally get it. DM us as many times as you can. We're not ignoring you because we don't like your shit. It's just like, yo, we're busy and we got other people hitting us up.
Right on. Well, thanks again,
Cool,
man.
cool. You too. We are out of here. Deuces.